How can you be certain of divine truths that our ancient ancestors in antiquity developed when science ignores them first, but rushes on to claim to have discovered the same said principles? Then you know it's time that you must enjoy these divine truths. For example, our ancestors discovered the matter and explained the strings theory as shown by the Dogons. Also, the Dogons discovered the star Sirius 1,000 years ago. Sirius B was discovered by scientists 1970 using equipment. We know from Craig Lade Scrankton's book, The Signs of the Dogons, he says when Egyptian mythology states that Nath wove the world on a shuttle, it is significant that it is essential the attributes the existence of the world to the movement of threads, just like the Dogon mythology of modern string theory. If you read our book Free from God, specifically book 2, where it states that the creator did not create the universe or humans, it also teaches in chapter 13 and 14 that the ancient Africans had their own science and the universe or universes were created by the divinities. So when we ask who created the universe, we have the answer God or a Big Bang. Then we ask who created God or Allah, and then we are told that it just exists. But that's not correct mythology, because where it was borrowed from, there are synonyms and the related terms that teach about this divine power or essence, which is associated with certain aspects of existence beyond the reach of scientific method. And if so, how do we approach understanding these mysteries? We must enjoy, of course, the power of scientific truths our ancestors and ancestral heritage gives us. To do that, we need to master the date and have an understanding of fundamental forces, quantum superpositions, entanglement, uncertainty principle, wave particularity. We have to realize that the expanding universe is an illusion, as taught by our ancestors through the Anansi the spider myth. This is very, very important, because when we understand that self-generated deities came from the potentiality within the chasm, we know that we have to master the deities, and this refers to the divine power or deity normally called Mondoro. These Mondoro are also Neja in Hamitic language and jargon, which is used in reference to the self-created ones out of the source and the many divine principles, so-called gods and goddesses that came out of the waters of Nyunyu. And the waters of Nyunyu are at the chasm that separates them gods and many divine principles or laws of the universe or laws of the universe from the unknowable creator beyond humanity's capacity to understand or divinity to explain. So let's look at deity. In English, this word deity is generally used to describe gods and goddesses encompassing their divine nature and attributes, Mondoro. This one of the most popular god who was created from a conglomerate of other gods is El, the god El, the chief god of the Canaanite pantheon. Canaanites were melanin-dominant human beings. He is also the god of the Bible, the god of the Torah, the Arabic god known as Allah, currently worshipped by the majority of humanity. This is the god El, who claims to be the only one, and yet is a jealous god. If there were no other gods, he would not be jealous. When he says that, we know that there are many divine principles, and we need to learn to master the original deities and also review their story. So being certain of divine truth means knowing terms related to the conscious and the unconscious you, the car or an aspect of the soul, divine essence, sacred power, which highlights the influence of the divinity's power over your own car, spiritual force. This term underscores the idea of the gods and goddesses that represent significant spiritual and cosmic energies, and understanding divine principles around the spiritual connection and intuition within your car. Science does not understand consciousness at all, and therefore when you understand divine principles, the suggestion is that the gods and goddesses, good and evil ones, embody fundamental and guiding principles in the African cosmology. This is where, on top of your ninefold soul, your car, you receive extra help by way of being possessed by another source or a spirit, willingly or unwillingly, or deceived by that. This is why Yahweh is jealous, because he is aware that you can be able not to choose him. When you surrender your mind and will to anything else other than your own car and other than a mutual relationship, your car loses its own inherent transcendental nature. Mali ya kiroho ihenke muyo kutunga mu nguka ya ngle mwimoya akabatwa nomweya epetwe ngumoya ti o ni emi unomoya. So this means that you need to avoid demonic possession, channeling, mediumship, shamanic journeying, ecstasy, or trance states where you have not invoked these spirits. You have to do it voluntarily and with control and with your capacity to stop or to continue. This term about demonic possession refers to the deliberate act of calling upon or inviting spirits or deities to enter you, and they are negative in terms of their influence. Evoke means to intuit, and intuit is a verb which means you understand something instinctively. In other words, at the level of your soul. So you need to know that certain divine truths discovered by our ancestors have been watered down by science and other religions and other philosophies. Any religion or spirituality that has a record or a history of ever incarcerating, committing genocide, encouraging enslavement, like Islam and Judaism and Christianity, these religions are entropy to your soul, a disaster. They should never be allowed to operate in a melanin-dominant human mind. In ancient African mythology, Netta represents the fundamental divine power underlying the universe. Similarly, in quantum physics, when you look at that, these fundamental forces are like the electromagnetism forces, gravity, strong and weak nuclear forces that underlie the behavior of particles and dynamics of the universe or within the universe, the waters of Nyunyu. These forces are mysterious and fundamental in their respective knowledge systems. All things, when we look at fundamental forces, specifically observe and obey the second law of thermodynamics that states that as one goes in time away from the source, the net entropy and the degree of disorder increases and will cause permanent disintegration. Therefore, the universe is falling apart through entropy, and we are in the universe. However, our ancestors taught us the cyclical nature of all this through a 10-step method that we have written and showed in the book Free from God. Nyunyu is the chaos from timelessness and spacelessness, infinity right up to pre-creation, prior to the origin of and emergence of the gods and their self-generation within the waters of Nyunyu. And then creation of many universes, including our own, and also our ancestors, as well as the reign of the sun god, and directly the rule of the other deities, and also the rule of Shatta 6,000 years ago. And then the rule of divinely inspired melanin dominant human royalty, which we have lost in this current cycle. And then a return to the chaos of the primeval waters, and then a return of the great wheel and cycle of death. And then you know you must escape and transform yourself to escape this big wheel in this current life. This is being certain of divine truths, where you know that the immortality of your soul is not compromised by religions that teach that the soul that sins shall die. There is no sin. You can't sin against the real creator. You can sin against only gods if you willingly have entered into a contract with those gods. And also science says the soul is a fantasy. All these two lead to the entropy, the heat death of the universe, in which you are also easily going to be trapped if you are not very certain and if you do not invoke certain powers within you using principles of life. The uncertainty principle, the Heisenberg uncertainty principle in quantum physics, states that there are inherent limits to how precisely certain pairs of properties, e.g. positions and momentum, can be simultaneously known. This could be metaphorically related to the idea that the true nature of the real creator, who is not a spirit or a being, is unknowable. You can never fully comprehend that because there is a chasm, mukaha. Even the deities do not know that. The unknowable, the nameless, not spirit, no being, is far beyond the Chazim Mukaha. That is illustrated in our book, Free from God, comprehensively. We continue to show these powers that are related to our soul. The city called Unu, changed by the Greeks to Heliopolis, teaches, that's where we find the teaching of the origin of matter, time and space. It states that matter came from waves of unseen materials. They designate this as Nyunyu, which comes out in our structures all over the earth as the Chevron wave found in Great Zimbabwe and many other places. They call these waves Masaisai or Matate Zinto, Zinu, Nyunyu. Today, quantum scientists, even some astrophysicists, have laid claim to have discovered these massless waves. And these massless waves are connected to the wave mass of your soul, a massless soul and a car. In Cranton's book, The Science of the Dogon, the goddess Neith is believed to weave and matter on a loom with a shuttle. This concept is expressed in hieroglyphics. The glyphs used represent her name and refers to the weaving of matter through the coming together of strings. It's shown here. Already our ancestors knew that. Her name is seen to mean to make, exist, or create, or to be. And she was at one time considered the first and most powerful creative force in the whole universe. She spoke 7 words that brought creation into being, magical words. So Neith, our ancestral divinity, teaches us about ability to create within us. So visualization consciously sets in motion your energy, and when your actions match your intent, the laws of physics align and the magic happens. This is a method you can use to escape entropy, to escape the trap that is being set on the earth. So there are many other steps of being certain of divine truths. In the book The Hermetica, we understand that this is where the nature of the immortality of the soul is taught, and that others will mock that idea. We have already shown Christianity and the science mocking that idea. So we also know that being certain of these divine truths means avoiding entropy of your soul through the entrapment of the strings that attach to our current status and our current imprisonment of the soul. So the molecule, our ancestors knew about it, is Atema, the god Atum, and the string attached to that. And as you split the nucleus, you go to the proton, and then you've got the up quark, and you've got the down quark. You need to escape all that, even in the neutrons. You need to explain the up quark, and you need to escape the strings. That's all what it is saying and illustrating here. So how do you do that? We have already shown one method. Now we look at another method. Understanding animism at a quantum science level. One aspect of animism, regarded as the oldest religion ever, illustrates that the soul or spirit is found and is foundational element in all things that you find in this universe or on earth. There is a car, there is a spirit, there is an electron, a string, a wave, a frequency. We have already demonstrated how you can escape that. These are the laws of physics, the laws of quantum mechanics in the universe, demonstrating and illustrating the waters of Nyunyu and the elements from the waters of Nyunyu. So you are being certain of divine truth and the entropy of your soul. And we are here to use the holistic capacity of understanding animism to escape that, because the deep interconnectedness and your capacity to visualize and cut those connections are within you. This is straightforward. So being certain of these divine truths means you snap off strings that trap and imprison your soul in some form of entanglement, whether it is the life, birth, death, decay life cycle, or reincarnation soul trap cycle. You use harmony and balance, as taught in the Hermetica, that emphasizes that achieving harmony and balance between the earthly and divinely, Ma'ati and Isfet, positive and negative aspects of existence, even within the divinities, symbolize that you have restored that balance, and that as a human being with a soul, you are closely able to align your principles of life beyond the limitations set upon in this string-filled universe where we live. So to escape the cyclical nature of reality, where everything, including the gods, are trapped in a continuous entropy cycle like of manifestation, even the gods shatter, apophis, you have to fight to return to a higher transcendental state so as to break these strings by using a harmony. So, to learn more about being certain of divine truths, meaning that you avoid entropy of your soul, send us an email at join@marifado.com. Thank you very much for subscribing. Till we meet again, your manager Topi, Priest Teacher Rabbi LM to Mr. Kunikeni Mjakanja. Till we meet again, Siyabonga. Thank you, Edupe, Enkos, Katenda, escape entropy and be free forever. Ameni.